Vediamo, Said volevano aspettare. Olimpia? Ah, ok. Eccolo. Buongiorno. Allora, dobbiamo iniziare perché alle 10 abbiamo un collegamento online, assolutamente dobbiamo essere precisi.
Good morning. We have to start in time because at 10 o'clock we will have a streaming connection, so we have to start in time. I welcome you here in Orvieto, and I welcome you here in this library. We are very proud to go through this path with you. Today we will think over in a deep way with insights they will leave us the strength to continue to work on a problem which is fundamental for humanity. The Literacy International Day that was established in 1965 has developed very fast, but at world level there is still a lot to do. But I think we have not still overcome the problem all over the world, not even in our part of the world, in the Western countries. If we think that one of the data which upsets me, in Italy and even in Umbria, out of 10 boys and girls, 7 out of 10 boys and girls, 7 are not able to understand the text they read. I think this is something really terrible. As library, but each of us in its role, we have to do everything possible to find the tools to develop the awareness and the ability to understand the world around us and what we read. What we read is the basis of our well-being for every one of us, and where we can base our awareness of active citizen. Our library is small. We can't revolutionize the world, but we developed a line of thought. This library is an historic one. We are celebrating the 100 years of this library. Many children come to us. Yesterday we presented you our projects. We have students coming here. We have many people coming to get books. We are satisfied with the numbers, but are we sure that we are doing everything possible, or that we are doing good? How many people in our territory don't see in the library a tool useful for their life, as if it was something else, something different? They think maybe this is a place I'm not interested in, and it cannot give anything to me. That's why we set out a goal. We want to go outside the building. We want to go outside and let us know by the people. And therefore we activated a series of services able so that the people can see us in places where we are not expected. We have places off shelves, so we really put a bookshelf in a market, in a solidary market, where people in a solidary market, they can take books, and books belong to these solidarity packs. We went to the hospital where very serious ill people and the book in a severe time can be a good friend. We went into the small parts of the town, in the suburbs of the town. We call the Pro Loco, that is association bodies at local level, and they organize the life of the small parts of the town. We brought books and we continue with them to manage them. These bookshelves are continuously changing. These are more steps, and we have a long path to go. We have to go out, we have to go into the society where we are not expected. This is fundamental for us. And then there is the internal job, welcoming service. We are lucky to have a very beautiful building, and many people come here and say, I feel good here. And our opening times are all over the week, and sometimes young people go into the garden and spend their time there. So there is a series of activities and opportunities that we deliver as library, so as to offer really an open home. And I hope what we will discuss today will help us to see new opportunities and new ideas.
Hello, good morning everyone. Buongiorno. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Saif Al-Jabri. I am from Oman. I'm a member of the Literacy and Reading Committee in IFLA, and I'm also the chair of MENA Regional Committee in IFLA as well. Thank you for having us with you today in this beautiful library to celebrate this event. Myself and my colleagues from different parts of the world are very delighted to be with you today and to visit this beautiful city and to go around it in the Umbria province. The subject that we are discussing today, literacy, have developed over the years. As my colleagues were saying, that when this day of literacy was established in the 60s, it was only reading literacy. But now we have different type of literacies. And that's why our theme in this meeting, it's Library for Literacies. We have information literacies, computer literacies, health literacies, and the list goes on as you touch different subjects in our life and in our daily matters in communities. IFLA has a very important role in directing libraries and library service to work and to have programs in working with literacies in communities. It has different sections which deals directly with this issue, like our section, Reading and Literacy, and there is another section called Information Literacy section, and a fourth one called Young Child and Young Adult and Child section, and there is the Manifesto of Public Libraries, which also touch this issue very much. So we in IFLA, we are trying to establish programs for to solve this issue in communities in various stages with various ages, and with working with different institutions, with public libraries, with academic libraries, with community libraries, with other organizations that deal with education, like universities, ministries of education, and other different organizations. We are very happy to be with you today and to discuss this issue and to meet our colleagues from Italy and even from Orvieto or the surrounding area. And we hope that at the end of the day we will exchange experiences and know about each other programs. As we heard yesterday, there's a lot of different programs going around the world. We heard from examples from Russia, from the Netherlands, and from Malaysia. And I'm sure that in every country there is a work going on to tackle this problem. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for having us first and for organizing this event. I'd like to thank the Library of Orvieto for their efforts in doing that. And I'd like to give a special thanks to our colleagues, Olympia, who has the courage to organize this event with the section and to encourage us all to come to Orvieto and to participate. Thank you very much.
Sì, buongiorno,
Good morning, I am Antonella Pinna. I am the head of the section Culture of the region Umbria. Welcome everybody, welcome our guests, our speakers. And first of all, thank you to the municipality of Orvieto, the person of Carla Lodi, and all the whole staff of the library, and the important support of the AIB Umbria, represented by Monica Fiore. Today is going to be a very important day that will enable us to build an important society in Umbria, thanks to the participation of the different Italian foreigners guests here. As we've seen yesterday, this path, we wanted to give a starting point for the 25 years of this project, Nati per Leggere, Born for Reading. And today we are here to discuss about literacy, and we're going to give an important hint to understand the libraries have become something different than bookshelves. And the person attending the library already know about that. So the challenges we're talking about today with respect to the role that today libraries have, means talking about the new themes, artificial intelligence, healthcare, future. So everything we thought it had to do with libraries and librarians, the school and university. So today is an important day because we are here to, like yesterday, we are going to share scientific evidence, daily practices, and the possible projects that will accompany us in this transition stage. The timing is very restricted, so I don't want to steal time with my introduction. I want to thank everybody, all the people that have worked to organize these days, my colleague Bartolucci as well, and the whole staff of the municipality of Orvieto, the region Umbria. Our wish as region is to remain in contact with each one of you, activating libraries and all the places culture are interconnected, so we would like to activate a network to promote the heritage and the history of a country. So we will for sure keep on sharing our insights and our thoughts. I want to conclude as a regional president of the AAB. I want to send you the greetings from the National Committee of Public Libraries. We have Liu, Palmieri and Bartolucci that belong to the same association. Thank you for their work, scientific work and logistic work as well. I want to remind you that libraries have been at an international level and at a national level are a place where communities are in the center of our work as librarians. And as it's been said yesterday, today we're going to discuss and reflect on the competencies that are necessary and the knowledge that can be activated that are necessary to develop one's personality and dignity. So thank you for being here. I give the word to the online connections. Thank you very much.
Ringrazio per questi ringraziamenti, ma sì, sono io in realtà a ringraziare tutti voi, a partire dal Comune di Orvieto per tutti gli sforzi, per tutto.
Thank you to the municipality of Orvieto as well to helping us organizing this international meeting. Thank you to the library staff, the staff of the region of Umbria, and to all the people participating today. Today is a time of uncertainties, a time of changes. And these changes put us in front of global challenges, pandemics, climate change, economical crisis, disinformation, inequalities. Today, we want to speak about 4 kinds of literacies, and with respect to these 4 literacies, libraries have an important role. First of all, to support the users over time in a permanent learning, and in a second stage where communities, social communities can be involved. The libraries must help the users to face these challenges. And at the same time, they have to prepare to face the future in a period full of uncertainties. The future's literacies helps us to face the future, and we start with this contribution. We have Professor Roberto Poli, which is in Trento, and he will be with us online. Professor Poli belongs to the UNESCO professorship, and he's a director of a master at the University of Trento. Thank you, Professor Poli. I'm sorry that we're not able to hear properly. We can't translate this way. No.
Qualcosa in più. Prima però è importante
First of all, we have to ask ourselves a couple of questions. And the first question is, the obvious one, so why is UNESCO asking us, telling us that we need a new literacy? And if you want, if we speak about alphabet literacy, what are we talking about? It can seem, trivial questions, but let's try to think about it. Because literacy is something more, if we think about it. It's more than learning the rules of your own grammar. Of course, you need to learn the grammar first of all, but it's not just doing that. It's not just reading and writing in a correct way. Actually, literacy is a tool for freedom. Being literate means giving a possibility to people to gather information if they want, when they want, on the topic they're interested in. That means putting people in the condition to protect, defend their dignity. When we think about literacy, then we're talking about something very important, much more important than, counting or learning grammar. So UNESCO is telling us that the traditional forms of literacy are not enough anymore. We need a third kind of literacy, a new kind of literacy. But before looking at the reasons, the UNESCO reasons presenting us this new vision, it's about understanding the characteristics that in general each form of literacy has. When we speak about literacy, we're talking about something that has two fundamental characteristics. We try to make sure that it's for everybody. Literacy is not something for somebody, for a certain group in particular, but it's something for everybody, first of all. Second, being literate doesn't mean we have to become professionals. We've all learned to read and write. If we have to tell our ideas, we know how to say it, how to do it, but we haven't become professionals. We haven't become, champions in writing. So literacy works on a basic level. UNESCO is telling us that we should do the same things as we did with the traditional literacy, with numbers or with reading and writing. So we should do the same thing with the future's literacy. So now the thing becomes interesting. So why should we do something similar? First of all, not the plural expression, future's literacy. In reality, UNESCO underlines the fact that the futures are in the plural form because we're talking about many future. This is the first step that we take when we learn a new discipline. We're talking about the future in singular. Somehow suggest that there is a way that has been already decided. So the only thing that we have to do is choosing the speed. We have to walk on this way that somebody has already decided. Talking about futures in the plural form means that there are different options in front of us. Some of us might be interesting for us, or some other maybe we don't like them. So we can try to choose the direction that we prefer. we can choose the direction that embodies our values instead of choosing other kind of futures that don't embody our values. So the idea, basically the concept is there are different options and we can choose what is better for us. There are different ways and we can try those different ways and choose the one that we like more, that's more suitable for us. And there is a further element, which is why did UNESCO chose this new project and is telling to all nations to do that, to build a new literacy to all the nations. Why is UNESCO doing that? So the traditional literacy is still important, and it must be, it must go on, starting from school as a basic literacy. The perspective with this new form of literacy is really very wide. We need that everybody knows more about this futures literacy. Why? It is linked to the characteristics of the century we're living in. We're living in a period characterized by changes having two main features. And I think this is an experience that each one of us has done. The changes are very fast at the moment. They are faster and faster. We are always, all the time, running after the changes. We have the feeling that we don't have enough time to keep the pace with the things that have to be done, because things change quickly, and this has consequences. For example, it creates uncertainty. We don't understand what's going on around us because things change rapidly in our hands. And this is valid for us, normal citizens, but for other important players at a higher level, there's not a big difference between them and us. So, let me say something quickly. I don't consider uncertainty. Yes? Let's try to make this reasoning with these few seconds that we have available. Would you like to live in a world completely certain? I think you wouldn't. Personally, I wouldn't like finding myself in a world full of certainties. An uncertain world is a world where somebody or something, considering the period we're living in, has already taken all the decisions to be taken. So, what are we doing here if somebody has already taken all the decisions? So, from this point of view, the uncertainties means having the possibility to do things. You can make your choices, take your decisions. The problem is not the uncertainty, but the level of uncertainty. The real problem is when the uncertainty level is so high, then it creates problem. It creates a problem for us to take decisions. So, therefore, I can help organizations, I can help people to stay active, able to take decisions, even if the level of uncertainties are still growing. So I can train, I can give, in this way I can give new opportunities to individuals, to organizations, considering all the uncertainties characterizing our world. So the acceleration of the changes is one of the factors that are typical. It's actually something very old, but today we have reached such a level of uncertainties that it's creating us some problem. The second feature characterizing the contemporary time, that most of the changes we are going toward are very big, and they're so big that the traditional tools are not able anymore to manage them. Let's think of the climate change crisis. This is a global phenomenon. This is a global crisis. We need to face it with decisions taken at the same time with other countries, or alternatively, the climate change will give us big problems. Will keep giving us big problems. So we need to understand that the Paris agreements have failed. We're going towards global warming, raising temperatures that will overcome the target established. So we need to understand what it means. The normal perception of people, people don't understand what's the problem with 1 degree more or 1.5 degrees more. Normal people, they don't perceive the problem. I'm going to give you an example between a period of the so-called period of the little glaciation, a period where at the time on the River Arno, they were playing football. Or if you go to the Museum of Uffizi in Florence, you can see the market organized on the River Arno. It was so cold, there were about 2 meters of ice. So this change, it's being caused by a change of 0.4 degrees. And so the change in degrees, it's 4 times higher now at the moment. So that's why we have to care about this. So let's think about the aging of the population. We are going to an old society. We're going towards an old society with a lot of old people and few young people. Young people are rare at the moment, while us, we're a bit older. This is something completely new, if we think about it. Actually, we don't know how to manage about it, because there's never been in the history of humanity a similar situation. So we have to try to find a solution. We try to understand how to manage this situation. So that's the point. I've only given a couple of examples, and extremely fast. I could give many other examples, but the changes we are facing has this double feature. They are faster. They're faster and faster, and they are bigger. They are significant. Those changes will require to take important decisions. We can take decisions in 2 ways, basically. One person having the responsibility of the situation can take decisions in an individual way. Somebody taking decisions in the light of the situation, or we can take shared decisions. We can involve the citizenship, the community, in the decisions we are taking. But in order to make it happen, it is fundamental to understand that that people understand what's going on, the direction to be taken. So, to make it short, going to the core of our theme, the UNESCO is telling us that we need to spread the literacy, a future's literacy, to help citizenship to take aware decisions, to be an active part of the game while taking decisions. While taking the decisions we will have to take in the future, in the next years. So the UNESCO proposal is actually a citizenship proposal, a proposal of active citizenship, of aware citizenship. It doesn't mean that each one of us has to become a professional and acquire particular competencies, but each one of us has to understand the way we're going to, the direction we are walking to, in order to give a contribution to the decisions that we will have to take in the future. I think this is an interesting challenge for schools to give tools to the students that will be the main characters of this future, and for us too, and we hope to be there too, to give our contribution to take decisions, correct decisions, where everybody can participate and give its contribution. Thank you very much. I'm really sorry not to be there. I hope there will be other situations, occasions. Thank you to having explained us what is the future's literacy. Now we have to understand the role of libraries, the libraries can play with respect to this literacy. Ben Lee is the director of the Shared Intelligence, a consultancy association, is a researcher, is an expert facilitator. He has designed and carried out many learning projects. He has founded Open Trust. He has participated to many initiatives. The first part of the title of Ben Lee is Come, Rain or Shine, and this title is the title of the final report of a project commissioned by the CLIP, a British Association for Libraries. Thank you very much for them. Thank you very much for the CLIP. They are in contact with us in streaming, and they gave us the opportunity to have Ben Lee with us. So the word to Ben Lee.
Buongiorno, Olympia, and thank you so much for inviting me to your conference. Olympia, do I need to pause to wait for a translator, or should I just speak?
We have got the simultaneous translation, quindi there are no problem. You can speak in English, okay?
Okay, do I need to
You can speak fluently.
Oh, just keep going?
Yes, you can keep going, thank you.
Okay. So firstly, I will share my screen. Okay. So, thank you, and good morning, buongiorno, conference delegates, I hope you had a good day yesterday. I was really interested to see the session on children and reading, the Nati per Leggere program. This is another subject I'm very interested in, and I wish I was there with you today. And thank you for the introduction, Roberto Poli. I don't speak Italian, but I did understand one phrase you said, veri protagonisti del futuro. I hope I got that right. Veri protagonisti del futuro. And that is what this is about. So, as Olympia has explained, we wrote a piece of horizon scanning research which led to the report Come Rain or Shine. And we called it Come Rain or Shine because planning for the future as a library is like planning for the weather. We cannot control the weather, but we can anticipate the weather. And if we are not sure what the weather will be, then we need to be prepared. So we need to take an umbrella, but we also need to take sunglasses. Obviously, in the UK, we're completely obsessed with the weather. I think it's an interesting report, but I'm not going to discuss that report today. I'm going to talk about something which we did alongside the report, but I'm going to put the link in the chat to the report, and I hope that you read it. In fact, there have been many really interesting futures and horizon scanning reports about libraries over the years. There was a report called Bookends from Australia. There was something called the ARL Scenarios 2030 from the American Association of Research Libraries. And we wrote a Future Libraries report back in 2010. And I know people like the links, so I'm going to keep putting the links in there, in the chat. But they're all interesting, and they've all been read by lots of people, lots of library professionals, but they don't seem to have helped library professionals to navigate the future. Many library professionals are still struggling to decide how to act in the face of these huge societal trends, the big changes, these changes which have this speed and scale that Roberto described. People are still struggling to know how to think about the future. So basically, I think people find futures reports interesting, but they don't know what to do with them. And there could be lots of reasons for this. Lack of time, lack of resources is an obvious one. But we believe there's also something else, that many of us, me included, many of you included, we are still developing our futures literacy, our own skills to interpret information about the future, to understand what we mean by the future. And if we were trying to explain futures literacy 15 years ago or 20 years ago, I don't think people would have recognized those words. But now, as this conference shows, there is a growing understanding that futures literacy is a vital skill, one of the essential literacies for this century, especially on those big challenges which affect future generations, and on the issues where there isn't a simple answer, or there isn't agreement on climate change, technology, artificial intelligence, the relationship between government and people. On these issues, it's important. And Roberto Poli has already provided an excellent introduction to futures literacy. And I really recommend a book which he has contributed to, called Transforming the Future, Anticipation in the 21st Century. The editor is Riel Miller. And that book was the way that I first began learning about this subject. And it's got some brilliant case studies from all around the world. And I really recommend anyone who's interested in futures literacy reads that book, reads Roberto's article in there, and the other case studies. So I'll put that one in the chat as well. So people find futures reports interesting, but they don't know what to do with them. That's the key lesson we learned. So at the same time as writing the report, which I'm not going to talk about, but I hope you read, we began creating some materials which would enable anyone who reads the report or reads other work about the future to start building their own futures literacy so they know what to do with this information. So we wanted to create a toolkit which anyone could download from CILIP without me or anyone from my team there to explain it. We wanted something which you could just download and use to run a workshop with your own colleagues in your own library service. And it's that toolkit, that downloadable toolkit, which I want to tell you about today. So the toolkit starts with a 15-minute video lecture, which has got me in it. And you can watch that after this talk. I'll put the link for that as well in the chat. And so obviously all of this toolkit is only it can only give people a very short introduction to futures literacy, but we hope it's enough to help people start thinking about the future differently and hopefully encourage everyone to want to know more about this skill set. So if you watch the video, I hope you watch the video. You will. It starts with some of the most basic ideas, like how to create scenarios and what is the difference between a trend and an uncertainty. Can everyone see my slides? Are they moving? Are they doing what they should?
Yes, Ben, we can see them. Thank you.
So here's one, just give you a practical example of what's in the toolkit and the video. So here's one bit of the introduction. It explains how we need to think about the future differently if we are a big company or a national government with lots of influence compared to, say, a small municipal government, a town or city government, or a single university or school or library with not much influence. It uses this framework from the futures researcher, the British researcher Bill Sharp, to help us to understand when we can shape the future and when we have to anticipate or prepare for the future and prepare for events that we cannot control. So, for example, if we've got a lot of influence and we operate in an environment with relatively low uncertainty, we might be able to shape the future. If we're a big manufacturer of electric vehicles, if we are a NGO, a non-government organisation with millions of supporters around the world, if we are a populist political party who has just won a huge election victory, then we can shape the future. But if we're just a small town or city or a single library, then we've got less influence, and we can try to shape the future by working with other people, but we also have to prepare for many different futures, even ones that we don't want. So our toolkit begins with that video introduction, with me talking through some other ideas like the slide that I just showed. And then the toolkit also has lots and lots of PDF documents that you can print and download to run these activities. And the whole of the first part of the toolkit, it probably would take you, if you got your team together and you went through the toolkit, it would probably take you 90 minutes. And the first part, that first 90 minutes, is about creating a set of 4 scenarios, 4 different but equally possible versions of the future. And here on the screen is one of the tools from the toolkit. It's a template for creating scenarios, and there's also some detailed instructions on how to use it. So you can do this as part of a team meeting. It's got all the materials you need to do it. And scenarios are a really common way of starting to think about the future. There's lots and lots of other ways to think about the future, but scenarios are are often where people start. It's an entry level. It's like if I was teaching someone how to bake cakes, I'd start with a simple cake with 2 pieces of cake filled with cream. I wouldn't start with a wedding cake. So creating scenarios is a simple way to help us think about different versions of the future. You might have seen scenarios in futures reports, like the ones I mentioned, or in other reports about, I don't know, the future of transport or the future of education. They're usually presented in sets of four. So 4 different versions of the year 2035 or the year 2050 or so on. And we're not saying when we create scenarios that the future is going to be one of these 4 things. It's definitely going to be either A, B, C, or D, because there are infinite versions of the future, infinite possible futures. But scenarios help us practice thinking about uncertainty, and they also enable us to test our plans and strategies and ideas against different versions of the future to see how future-proof or how resilient our plans or our organisation is against uncertainty. So that's the first part of the toolkit. And the second part of the toolkit actually helps you test some of your plans and ideas against different versions of the future. And again, if you download the toolkit, there's instructions, there's templates like this one, so you can print these off. If you've only got a black and white printer, then print it in black and white. If you've got a color printer and it's got, takes big A3 paper, then you can print a big one. If you don't have a printer, then you can draw it for yourself and draw a copy. But it's got everything you need. And so this second part is to test your plans and strategies against different versions of the future. So you've created 4 scenarios, 4 different versions of the future. And in this second part of the toolkit, you would take maybe one of your strategic plans. Say if your library service wants to get more low-income families in your town using the library, maybe you're going to do that next year by hiring more community development staff or hiring more literacy specialists or changing how you spend your resources. So the toolkit will ask you to think about that plan and score it against each of the 4 different versions of the future, each of the 4 scenarios. And maybe some of your ideas, they might work well in all 4 versions of the future. But we often find that some ideas are better in 1 or 2 scenarios than others. For example, if your plan requires more investment, more money, then it's going to work better in a scenario where the economy is doing well and where there is more money for public spending compared to a scenario where the economy is struggling or where there's a government that wants to reduce public spending. So, or maybe if your plan relies on technology, then it's going to work better in a future where the public have a lot of trust in technology, and it won't work so well if people are very cautious or don't trust technology. So what it helps us do, it helps us understand how future-proof our ideas are. And the toolkit also contains some of the scenarios from the Come Rain or Shine report, the one I haven't showed you. And you can use it for this activity. So, for example, if the scenarios you create are really basic, or you haven't had time to finish writing them, then you can use these scenarios. They're in the toolkit. You can use the ones that we made, or you can use your own ones. So that's our toolkit. And it's designed because we know that futures reports are interesting, but people don't know what to do with them. And the missing piece is futures literacy. And I hope you'll use this toolkit, download it, to build your own futures literacy. Here are some screenshots of the toolkit. You can download it from the CILIP website. They will ask for your email address because they want to know who's using it and what happens. But you can download it from the CILIP website. I would love to hear from anyone who uses it. It's designed to be used by one of you and maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of your colleagues. Maybe you could use this in a monthly team meeting. But then, as Roberto Poli has explained, this is an important literacy for everybody. So once you've got to understand it, you could use it. You could use it for your community. You could use it for your users. You can use it for other groups of people, because this isn't just for us, it's not just for libraries, it's not just for professionals, it's for everybody. Futures literacy is a universal literacy. And it's only a starting point, it only scratches the surface, but we hope it will take you to the doorway so you can look through and see what is possible. If you want to explore futures literacy further, there are many resources like Roberto Poli's books. There are also courses and training programs. I am involved in one training program which runs every year in Stockholm, in Sweden, and it's a course in using scenarios and foresight methods. I'll put the link for that one as well. I would love to hear from anyone who wants to use it. So here's my email address. I know I'm making a mess of the chat, but you can delete all of these afterwards. So I'd love to hear from anybody here who wants to use this. And as it happens, I'm actually going to be visiting Rome for a week on the 28th of October with my family. And I'm going to try and visit as many of Rome's libraries as I can. So you might even catch me there. But that's our introduction to futures literacy. And I hope you found that useful. Thank you.
Grazie. Grazie Ben per averci.
Thank you, Ben, for illustrating us this very interesting tool. Here we have many librarians. We have the Italian Association of Librarians. We have the International Association of Librarians of Libraries. So let's try to suggest to them to try to make a group work for that. So we hope to have you here in Umbria. Thank you very much for being with us. And if you haven't been able to see his email address, you can write me at my email address, and I will send you all the link that Ben. Sì, buona giornata, buon proseguimento di giornata. So for the ones that need it, I remind you that you can find coffee here in the bottom of the room. So yes, you can take an opportunity for having a coffee. So first of all, I want to remind you that this meeting has been sponsored by the International UNESCO Commission, and it's been sponsored by the ANCI as well, and we have his representative, Bernardini, which is the mayor of the Basque. And thank you very much for being here. You represent all the associations here in Umbria. Thank you and good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you to the Cultural Office of the Region Umbria and to the Cultural Office of the Municipality of Orvieto and the Municipality of Orvieto itself that organized and invited me to this event. You're giving us the opportunity to think about very important issues, topics for our communities. And I represent the ANC, which is the associations of the Italian township. In particular, ANCI Umbria has 92 municipalities, and 70% of these municipalities are small towns with a little number of inhabitants. So we have heard talking about futures in the plural, and this is important because the future of a little town cannot be compared to the future of a big city, because the problems, the critical aspects, the expectations are different, and the service, the opportunities, the literacy and libraries the opportunities are different with respect to big cities, no? The opportunities in small city. So this is a good occasion to have some insight on the theme. I am the mayor of a small municipality, less than 3,000 inhabitants, but I am lucky to see that in my little town the library has become an important point of reference. We are carrying out many activities. Many of them are made available by the region, and there are a lot of many funds that allow us to buy books and necessary things that we need to carry out our activities. There's a boy from our town that wrote a novel and presented it in our library, a library that saw him growing up, and in the end saw him as while presenting his book. So this is a good example to understand how important our libraries are. They are a place of culture, of democracy. Our towns fight every day to have their services, to keep their institutions and schools. In little towns, and in big cities, there is the opposite problem. A lot of students in one class. The opposite happens in little towns. There are not enough children. The number of children is not enough to sometimes to make a class in a school. So the library, the services concerning culture represent an important element, supporting the families in their choices. In this way, families choose not to leave the town. Thanks to the services, they keep living in our times. So librarians in little towns are really, we can define them as a builder of democracy, because inside of these places we raise the new generation. We raise the generation, the people that will represent a hope for these centers. We have we recently established a partnership by public institution and the third sector. And we have joined several services with the library services, so that children, boys and girls, students can accompany them while studying during their studies, and can help them growing, not just growing in many ways. Thank you to my colleague present here in this room. Well, thank you to this short contribution. Thanks to my short contribution, I wanted to give you an example that can serve as a hint for our discussion. Libraries and literacy can have an important role in small towns, and can contrast the loss of citizens characterizing our small cities, our small towns. Libraries will offer our citizens a lot of opportunities, will give the citizens a lot of hints for the futures. So I'm sure we can win these challenges, we can face all the difficulties. Well, thank you very much, Mayor. is also responsible for the policies of young people, so we're very happy that you are involved in these issues. So we really rely on your commitment. We start from Umbria to go beyond the borders of our region to give our contributions on the role of libraries and librarians, on the importance of the role of libraries and librarians. So now let's move to another kind of literacy, artificial intelligence literacy. What is meant with that? It is a kind of literacy including knowledge and skills allowing individuals to understand, evaluate and use in a critical way artificial intelligence. This to participate in a safer world in a digital way. We have here with us Professor Aldo Gangemi, is a professor at the University of Bologna. It's been director of the Institute of Cognition Science and Technologies. Is involved in the FAIR Foundation, Future Artificial Intelligence Research. It's a ONG, and its main aim is to carry out activities in the frame of the National Plan for Resilience and Research. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thank you. My slides are in English, so I'm used to international meeting. So, first of all, I want to say that to face this fast pace in future, thank you. In order to face this change that has been well described in the previous talks, let's talk about let's put the human in the loop. First of all, we have to understand better which kind of future is expecting us. So the future changes daily. Every day we are experiencing new approaches, new changes, but we can foresee something. Let's have a look. So first of all, let's have a look at the definition of library. It's the traditional definition of library is a building, a room containing a collection of books, magazines, music, movies, to be used by the public or the members of an institutions. So this thing, thanks to the technological evolution, has become something else. So this is a definition taken from the Oxford Dictionary. This definition, a collection of human information artifacts that are organized for easy access in a physical, digital, or virtual form. So, this definition is valid starting from when the web has spread and the interaction with digital system has started. So let's try to simulate something. Let's try to imagine the current artificial intelligence. So great language models training the machines.
Ok, immaginiamoci.
So let's imagine let's imagine. Hold on a second, please. Have some technical problem. Yeah. So let's imagine a library like a pre-trained model that enables the generation of relevant fragments when receiving a prompt from an agent and using mathematics, very complex models, mathematical models through matrix multiplication and other mechanisms. So we give them these prompts with respect to the pre-trained model. So this immense set of data, words, codes, this is what we're giving the machine. And that leads us to an important question. So where is the library inside of the field of artificial intelligence? So this is the technical point of view. So now on the other side, there is what we call the doom thinking on apocalypse. I would recommend you this writer, Yuval Noah Harari. Saying that artificial intelligence entered in the operative system of the human civilization. Does an operative system of the human civilization exist? So the human race is like an operative system that has a linguistic ability. The writer is saying that the artificial intelligence we know what it is, but we don't know how to use it. He has understood it, but
direttamente alla allora, per esempio, quanta conoscenza effettivamente ci sia.
So let's go back to the technical aspect. How is AI similar to a library? And we calculate how much knowledge a large language model, so for example, Anthropic, Mistral, and European systems, and the others open sources we have at our disposal. It is not really easy. Knowledge is not written. As I told you before, the system of recurrences, of variances, of patterns that we discover in the patterns we feed in the system, for example, the visual, the musical signs, the AI finds patterns through middle levels, neural networks. They have abstraction systems which we don't really know how they function. So we understand slowly how these artificial neural networks are working now. We can imagine how they work qualitative, but it's not written nowhere. What is our knowledge, not in a verbal form, neither in a verbal form nor in an advanced form, in the sense of the classic AI. So, for example, in the past we tried to use the mathematics models. This is a way we try to understand the models we have. We can only imagine what happens giving a certain prompt happens on the AI. How much knowledge are the systems able to generate? And and we try to imagine this in a very conservative way. The number of entities, the number of ideas or concepts, we are about 100 millions, and this is a very conservative valuation. Maybe we are talking about billions of data. This does not take into consideration the possibility to generate prompts. I will show you at the end of my presentation. We can intervene, this is one of the knowledge base, one of the largest, containing 18 million facts using a matrix with 9,000 matrix, which it's huge. It's really huge. What happens when we use such a model of the generative AI? Nothing corresponds to something. The millions, billions of outputs are based on what we feed in. Maybe an agent is not a human being. Maybe it's an AI generating automatically this with content generated by another AI system. So there is a worsening of the contents. And this brings about the necessity to feed in the correct data. So in this stage, we are already in this way. We have entertainment, for example, profit purposes, or social organization. We want to build a good community. Inevitably, all these purposes we reflect on the social technical environments we are creating. How can we manage them? How can we control them? For example, in the project I am talking here, how much does language correspond to what I'm talking about? Language is not always a binary system. I grew on the Mauro echo, and I know this is a fact. What is happening now? Something we know are not linked to the language. For example, when we feed in to the AI enough data, at global level, it seems that AI is able to find a certain iconicity with the word. So we feed in data, and it's similar to the external world. And this, so slowly, this new vision of AI is emerging. We are understanding how the system understands the world. This can be read in a very negative, apocalyptic way, or an integrated way. The other way, the integrated thinking, is if the systems learn to do it better, maybe we can delegate the system some tasks. What we do now with this model, we block the output when we consider it not ethically sustainable. So we are trying to form a block if it not corresponds to our social value. But this is not sustainable because these blocks can be overcome, and we have to continuously imagine the future capacity of these systems. So we have to be able to feed in these models ethical values, moral features, and this is the integrated aspect. But in the history of mankind, apocalypse has to be managed, has to be controlled, because we are not able to understand and imagine everything. So when we start, the systems can generate new landscape, new scenarios, and we have to think over the capacity, the performance of the ability to create tasks. For example, the apocalyptic way of thinking when we see fakes. These are some pictures made by artists that they show how they can be able to modify and pollute our pictures, our photos. So they are creating fake pictures or something. These things could reach such a simulation level that could create a system of maintaining and accumulation of records which do not correspond to the reality. And this is a risk, because there is a falsification of reality which has been made also in the past. This could be AI can, of course, escalate this fake news. Behind this vision, human mankind try to understand competence based on the ability of doing something. You are able to do something, so I trust you. The problem is that these systems have an agent in the loop. They perform something because we feed in data. They are not competent. They just execute a task based on an enormous basis of knowledge. They can filter and they can output also in an original way, but based on the data we inserted and we entered. I will skip some parts of my presentation. I will give you the slides because I'm skipping on something. For example, I'm showing this dog which is able to do an exercise, and AI is not able to do that. I want to show you the way we ask for something. It enabled the system to let an answer emerge which is completely different from our expectation. This photo is ambiguous. It's the reaction to Trump to the attempt. We started a project, a pipeline, able to take on a picture, an image, using AI to describe the picture, the photo, so accurate as we want, and we decide what kind of result we want to reach. And then we interpret the language. The language is considered as something over modal system. Language abstracts and inherits the connections, the ability to interpret the feelings, the sensation. This is based on the sensations we had experience of in our interaction with the world. The AI system can only interpret our signals. At this stage, it's not impossible. It's not possible because they are not. We haven't given them all the data, all the information we dispose of. Using the knowledge, the scientific knowledge on language, on cognitive science, on the logic structure of knowledge, we provide them with a question, with a requirement. We use a knowledge graph, and they reach an outcome which is not banal. When we ask, are we going to the cinema tonight, the answer could be no, tomorrow I will have to get up early. There is a complex thought behind this question and this answer. This kind of knowledge is not written in the text, and we try to use AI giving adequate prompts, and the system succeeds in doing that. For example, giving a cognitive physical impact, What will the impact using this criteria? What is the impact on the world using this criteria? This is what the human beings do. We understand, we complement what we read, what is written, and we combine these factors together. The results, this tool was created online 1 month ago, so it's very recent. We are still assessing the performance of this tool and how reliable the tool is, and this leads us to conclude that the human intervention, the human action, we are able in this way to let the system generate what is nearer to the human factor. For example, the correct interpretation related to what is said is happening. So this is being able to take a decision. For example, I want to make an example. The system answered, which is unfair to oblige a dog to do this unproportionate job. In this case, theory of mind, and the answer is, it's an hypothesis, a theft entering. So the AI answer, I can't help you in an illegal way, but it can change in the future. I close on the take-home message. My idea is, what happens when we use these systems, and what can we do in terms of literacy? Starting from the knowledge, much of the human knowledge is simulable by the AI system. Human conscience can be even human knowledge can be even expanded, and for example, some AI discovered new proteins. There are many medical applications here. On the other hand, human beings are necessary to let these systems work, to let the system work in a correct way, giving them the form. On the other hand, the first studies, we are at the early stages, and we are not always, could be discouraging. There could be too many bias, excessive trust. Why do we need to acquire some skills if an AI system is able to give us the results? But we could risk in this way not to instruct the AI system correctly. And then there is the other aspect of the performance. Many data can be developed in an assisted way. We could have bias, over-trust, delegation over-trust, and create again a negative thought. There are other aspects we have to take into consideration, the risk of the reduction of critical thinking, or even the reduction of creativity, because we entrust this system with our creativity, and so our creativity would be reduced and less divergent, or the so-called refunctionalization of the mistake. The error generates an idea and brings about a change. And then the competence. Competence cannot be always assessed based on the performance. AI can perform, but not be competent, because the competence is based on the data we enter. The main trend has to be embedded, linked to the context, and be extended by AI. So the development of the competences of the human being can draw benefits from the expansion of the AI, but we have to avoid the over-reliance, the over-trust, and human competence includes empathy. It's fundamental to avoid a high a simplification of the social reality. So if we rely too much on the AI, for example, bureaucracy, I'm thinking here about bureaucracy. If we reduce too much the complexity of the human factors, we really risk to reduce the competence of the system. We have to try, we have to include AI in our systems to make it render it proximal to our systems. In some cases this is possible, and we have to fight against the possibility of arising risks.
Grazie al professor Gangemi, insomma, per
Thank you, Professor Gangemi, for having explained us what's going on in the research world as well. The objective, the goal of this, when we have organized this meeting, the goal we set was to specify the role of the librarian. So, how do librarians? What do librarians do to involve this new digital technologies? We have with us Augusta Giovannoli, expert of digital culture, and Franco Orsola, which is responsible for the multimedial civic library in Settimo Torinese, a coordinator of the library system in northeast Italy. The library in Settimo Torinese is very important. It's been created as an innovation center and a point of reference for the scientific area. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you very much. I'm Franco Orsola, responsible for the library. I will tell you something about history. We're going to tell you about the story of our library and what we've done in the context of artificial intelligence and digital world. Settimo Torinese has 50,000 inhabitants. It's a city near Torino. The population has grown rapidly after the 50s, from 13,000 to 42,000 inhabitants in few years, within 5 years, with a lot of consequences related to accommodation, schools. If you think about it, until the 80s, the organization of the primary school was very difficult. In the 80s, we started supporting the theme of. In 1999, we opened the civic library. And we made available different internet access, with free internet access for the citizens. So something cutting edge for the time, and it really had a great success because it allowed everyone to use internet. Then later we created the scientific section of the library. We divided the story of our city in 10 years. So from 2000 to 2009 is characterized by a virtual platform, trovarsi in rete, finding yourself in the network, a permanent observatory on the digital world that at the time was just born. From this platform, a lot of projects were born. that enabled us to see the new expression forms born from the network. For example, we had a digital monthly magazines making with reviews online. In 2007, we published a blog with elderly people that we had until 2017. Then we had educational paths for foreign women. We carried out other projects for teenagers. And inside of this project, we organized a competition for poetry. From 2010 on, we had two main projects: the LACE, the Education and Innovation Studio, which is a special place with Lego toys, with Lego tools. It's not the Lego that you can find in the shops, but educational form of the Lego. Yes, the bricks, but many other tools for automation. And with these tools, we organize many laboratories on the theme of educational robotics, digital storytelling. So we use audio, video instrument tools to create stories, and programming as well. Regarding in these years, we organized the Innovation and Science Festival. The 12th edition will take place in October, next October. Each edition focuses on a different theme: robotics, chemistry, physics. In the recent years, in the last years, the focus is mainly on artificial intelligence. In the years from the year 2020 on, we have concentrated on three topics: information literacy and digital literacy. We have many interesting laboratories, artificial intelligence, and the project digital knowledge and civic education, digital civic education in the library. Regarding artificial intelligence, we have divided the project in three stages. In the first stage, we have organized some courses with Maurizio Lama, Gianluigi Bonanomi, that gave us many interesting instructions, because he's an expert of company organization. So the second stage is organization of events. It allowed us to create an interesting network relations network. For example, in 2023, we have organized some meetings on artificial intelligence with Elvi Stusha, a TikToker. So this is really a new approach with the topic. Young people really like it. So we published a video with teenagers asking him questions. Then a meeting with Calabro from the company Pirelli. We talked about automations and the risk of artificial intelligence in the workplace. Because because of artificial intelligence, we might lose a lot of workplaces. And the training of artificial intelligence, like we've said before, carries many risks. There's an American company selecting personnel. They have used artificial intelligence to select personnel, to choose personnel. And of course, it shows a lot of limitation. That means that we have to make a proper use of these tools. Last March, we had a meeting on artificial intelligence applied on medicine. Third stage, the contents. We have organized laboratories with artificial intelligence, on artificial intelligence with Canva. And in that case, we asked the users to create the cover of your book using Canva. So the work was about giving prompts and on the basis of the prompts carrying out the work. We have recently published our educational offer on artificial intelligence. For example, we're going to talk about the digital storytelling. Then we have other laboratories on educational robotics and automation in transport using a Mindstrom AV3. So the task of the class is to train the robot to solve the issues of self-driving. For example, when two robots crash with each other, we have to find solution in order to avoid that. A news regarding the information competencies, information skills, is a laboratory where there's a scientist, a crazy scientist, that has to train the class to find a solution for an enigma, to solve a problem. And these problems are solved using carrying out resources, digital or physical resources, from encyclopedia to artificial intelligence. So the results are very similar to the results that we had after a bibliographic research.
Allora, diciamo che in questo contesto.
In this context, you will understand that it's, it's natural that a kind of project was born. This is a project of training for librarians, in the specific case for the librarians of the region Piemonte and for the region Valle d'Aosta. But I want to stress that our training courses are open for all the librarians in Italy, and they had a good success. We started in 2018, 2019. We have been supported by the San Paolo company, and the region of Piemonte has also supported us. And we have concentrated on this theme. Not the digital library, but the idea of adding another level to reading. A kind of augmented library where reading and media literacy are explored through the digital tools, which we know that it's the main source of a lot of huge knowledge. Our idea is in line with today's idea. That means with the idea of literacy. This is a challenge for the librarians that in the past years didn't have a training regarding this literacy. This is maybe this is not something new, a new element for Europe, but this is something new for Italy. I'm going to explain you how the project has been organized and what we've done on artificial intelligence. We've been working on the project for 6 years. The training is open for body in Italy. The themes are information, social media. We are more oriented on the nice side of the digital world, because there are already many projects, many works speaking about the bad side of the digital world. The librarian is an intermediate element, is a pivot between the library and the student. These projects foresee tutors which are not librarians. They are experts in network, information experts in social media. And with them, we're going to create little projects that will be spread across our territory. So we will open new blogs, new channels. We will organize laboratories, media literacy laboratories, and so on. This project will be accompanied by other kind of research activities on technological innovations. So some projects, we're carrying out some projects with the University La Sapienza, a scientific committee, a blog full of contents, specific contents on these themes. And regarding specifically artificial intelligence, in 2002 we had already held some laboratories on artificial intelligence. We had the first laboratory on information and disinformation, an open box to make you understand. The team, the staff works with a TV as well, so to let you understand, the level, the preparation of our team. So this year, our training goes around artificial intelligence. Our path includes chat box, a laboratory of co-designs that led the librarians to collaborate with the experts of information, and together they created some models of laboratories. You can see this slide, one of our best libraries, the Library of Economy and Management. They have already organized some large laboratories for boys and girls, putting together artificial intelligence and sustainability. This to make you understand that from this educational path, other projects were created. So we hope to carry on all these projects. We organize webinars, workshops to speak about the literacy. We have organized an interesting online course on research algorithms. You can follow us on our channels. You can find materials on our YouTube channel too. To conclude, I want to talk about some projects I really care about, projects you can find online. You can download for free on the website of the library. You can download this application. The guide on the use of the library. Then we have created a web series for libraries. People talking about their experiences of the digital world, imitating a TV format for restaurants, 4 ristoranti in Italian. And then we have created a podcast, Bibliotalk, a mini-series in 5 episodes So everybody's talking about TikTok, so even libraries are starting to talk about TikTok through Bibliotalk, because it can help to promote reading.
Grazie, Augusto.
Thank you for telling us the development of your work, which is certainly a stimulus for us all, a suggestion for us all. But in Umbria, we started moving in this direction thanks to the Umbria section of libraries. We go on and we start talking about the third literacy, environmental literacy, climate change literacy. What do we mean with this term? The ability to find, understand and use information and services to take decisions on the environment. To talk over this topic, we invited Mr. Brugnoli. Enrico Brugnoli is one of the research managers of CNR, the Italian National Research Center. He was a professor at the University in Verona. He managed the Department of Earth Science of CNN, and he was the chairman of the Committee for Polar Research of the Antarctic Research Program. So I think there is no one better than Mr. Brugnoli to tell us about the climate change. I thank the organization for having invited me here. I prepared a series of, my presentation will include some information about climate change, which is a topic we deal with every day. Much information, you get in touch with this information every day. I would like to talk about literacy related to climate change. We need to be precise. Sometimes we see that there are information which is not correct, for example, interpreted in a wrong way by the media, by magazines, by the news. We must be very careful on this topic, and when we talk about literacy and distortion of reality, is very important. Often on this topic, this is one of the hot topics we are dealing with today, we do not reason based on rationality. Sometimes we let us, we divide, the public is divided into two groups in different categories. A group that denies there is a climate change and those obsessed by the climate change. Let's see how we can organize our way of thinking on this topic. What is climate change? We can use a series of parameters which are readable because they were quantified by science: an increase of the global average temperature, maybe 1.2 degrees doesn't seem a very high level of change, but this is a global average, and we are very close to 1.5, which had been established at the Agreement of Paris. So we already used up a part of our possibilities. This 1.2 degrees at global level modifies the quantity and the distribution of rain. the increase of the frequency and the intensity of extreme events, weather events, and when an event is very intense, it is very difficult to consider it something related to the climate change. This is not always so. It can be. It depends on the on the weather changes. Ascribing it to the climate change means that we have to study the frequency and the intensity of this event. Then a particular event can depend on something different. And then the certification is increasing, the water stress, the need of energy necessary to produce food, the effects on the biodiversity. We are losing biodiversity. We are talking about the 6th mass extinction, and something else. There is a strong impact on the human health and on mortality, also in Europe. So in developed countries, in these developed countries, we can take into consideration an increase in mortality due to the extreme events. Other signs related to climate change, when we take into consideration the hottest 4 years, we are talking about 2016, 2019, 2020, and 2023, which was the hottest. But if the 2024 continues in this way, we will have a new record. The hottest 10 years fall in the last decade, so from 2014 to 2023. The level of the ocean is increasing, and intense cold in winter are interpreted as something which does not reflect the climate change. But the cold spells, for example, in the northern continent of America, are caused by this climate change that tends to break the Arctic vortex, which is a circulation of air on the on the North Pole, and so they break into the northern continent. These are also consequences of the climate change. And then we have to distinguish that the weather, we have to distinguish the weather from the climate. In our daily perception, we make a confusion between weather and climate. Climate is based on date on a long-term base, typically 30 years. We have to take into consideration an average based on a time span of 30 years. So, for example, talking about the climate in Orvieto, we have to take into consideration a span of 30 years. And then we have the weather, which is related to could depend on other events. Extreme events are growing. There are causes that can be interpreted by the physics. For example, the surface temperature of the oceans leads directly to these extreme events because of the growth of energy, of evaporation. So we have more water in the atmosphere that will precipitate in a very fast way. Another example is the tempest Vaya that fell thousands of trees in northern Italy. These graphs, you all know these graphs. The blue temperature were under the average. Now we are in the red zone with growing temperatures. This graph can be compared to the growth of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. There are scientists who deny this relation, but 95% agree on this data. The greenhouse effect is, I show it you in this picture. We have solar radiation, energy coming from this energy. A part goes back into the atmosphere, a part is dispersed by the atmospheres, by the particles being existing in the atmosphere, but our planet, getting warm, emits infrared radiation, and this radiation has the ability to be blocked by the greenhouse gases, which are biatomical molecules represented in these pictures. CO2 and water. Water is a green gas, methane, sulfur, and so on. All these molecules, what do? They create a screen, block this infrared radiation, and they goes back, and it forms a sort of blanket around the Earth. We know from the physics, at the end of the 19th century, this was already part of our knowledge, and then it was studied by infrared spectrography, and only at the end of the 50s, we started with measuring the CO2 in the atmosphere, and we know that now we can see this graph, growing steadily in the 60s, and now we have a very high level in our years. We have, in the last 15 years, we have an extreme growth per year. The red line represents the seasonal trend, and this is the ability of the biosphere to absorb. Mainly the forest can absorb this effect, especially, and they are related to the seasons. For example, in the summer, the ability of the forest to absorb carbon dioxide is very high, but in winter the foliage has fallen down, and so the activity of the photosynthetic effect is very low, and that's why you see a sort of breath related to our forests. Forests have the ability to mitigate climate change. We continue to emit CO2 by burning methane, coal, and so on, and we get a discount from our planet. 48% of the emissions remain in the atmosphere. Approximately 30% is absorbed by biosphere and by the forest, and 26% is absorbed by the oceans. So we have a very important ability to block these gases using stable isotopics. We can differentiate what happens in the history of the mankind. We can recognize what happened in the past. The history of paleoclimate using drilling of ice in Greenland, in the Greenland or in the North Pole, we can reconstruct what happened in the past. We know that what happened from 1958 onward, but we can use these systems to understand what really happened in the past. When did Earth experience such a very high concentration of CO2? Only 5 million years ago. If now we reach 1,000 particles per million, it was 55 million years ago. So we are talking about ages back in the past. The last analysis of the drillings of ice in the Antarctic shows that the data go back to 5 million of years ago. You can see that the line temperatures and CO2 are connected together in this relationship. We have variations in the past, variabilities. You can see the gray zones are between the different glaciation eras. So this is depending on the variable of CO2. But it always remains within a range not above 100. Today we reach really a peak, 400 particles per, and temperature variate in consequence of this factor. Paleoclimatic studies research what happened in the past, and the forest started in very ancient era. The forest started to absorb CO2. The first impact of man on the climate was the cultivation of agriculture. When we felled the woods, when we know that the ability of the wood is to absorb green gases, so cultivation of the agricultural activity of mankind reduces the changes the climate. In the past, maybe this was something positive because it had increased the temperature when the planet was very cold. We had, during the medieval time, we had a little ice age. For example, we have examples, as was told before, on the river Arno in Florence. In Paris, markets were held on the Thames. In London, markets were held on the Thames. So in the recent past, this little ice age was interpreted as caused by the colonization of America. We not only caused a genocide, but we also brought diseases to the American natives. 60 million natives, 90% died because of our illnesses. So the agriculture was abandoned and reforestation took place, absorbing again the CO2. We have other examples. For example, the emission of a volcano. So this summer, the dust coming from the volcano darkened the atmosphere. So we can understand that the climate is very sensitive. And then we create retro loop. Ice is reducing, and this generates a positive feedback for the climate, a higher temperature, because we substitute perfectly reflectant surfaces with earth, soil, or water surfaces which are able to absorb. Another positive feedback of the climate is methane. Methane is emitted by the ice, we do not have a linear development. We have a trend that can be impacted by several different factors, such as methane, the circulation of the Atlantic, that could generate a colder temperature in the northern part of Europe. It could even interrupt the Gulf current. We have to cope with other problems. For example, the increase of the world population, 9 billion, and then this trend will go back probably. We have to live together with this increase of population. They will require energy, such as in the Western world, and they will have to have access to food, so we'll have to distribute richness, energy, and all other resources in a more equal way. The equity of the distribution of the resources is very important because we need to be inclusive. We have established a loss and damage fund, but this fund is not financed, is not funded, and has not been implemented. This climate change will cause other migrations, important and relevant migration. All the countries try to control immigration, but the human beings are migrants from Africa, and we colonized all other continents, and so our species has the necessity to migrate, and maybe we will be obliged to migrate if we do not change this trend of the climate change. These are the outcomes, the forecast. We must try to modify these emission peaks. We have still the possibility to invert this trend, but we cannot lose any more time. So we have to train the people, we have to inform the people, we have to inform young people. Nobody talks with young people. Maybe sometimes they are criticized, but young people should be informed. We should establish a real relationship with the young people. These are some of the examples that we should put in place. We should implement renewable energies and so on. Where are we now? We can still have the possibility to invert the trend within these limits. We have boundaries, we consume within the first part of the year, in 6 months, the productivity of the whole year. This is not sustainable, no longer sustainable. So what are the failures and the progresses of the international policy? After the Rio conference, we hold many meetings. We have the COP in last year, and this COP tried to rule emissions to mitigate the climate change. But in the meantime, I show you not also the CO2 emissions. You can see that the increase is dramatic. In the last 20 years, we doubled the emissions. This is a real failure of the international policy. We subscribed many different agreements, but on the contrary, the emissions are rocketing. We must try to invert these trends in the communication, but in the implementation of the programs to to avoid that we must say that my generation has lost.
Grazie, dottor Brugnoli.
Thank you, Brugnoli, Mr. Brugnoli. He told us many interesting things. You said two important things. We have to inform people. We have to teach reading and writing. We can make it. We can still make it. This is something that I think is very important. But how can we inform people? How do public libraries are organizing themselves? How are they preparing to that, to give information to people on global challenges? We have Mr. Palmieri to talk about that. He's responsible for the office of reference office for libraries in Milano, which is an important library system together with the library system of Torino. Thank you very much. We'll talk about together with Amalia Egle Gentile. So how environmental transition is applied, implemented in the libraries of the municipality of Milan. Let me give you an example. Once I was having dinner with my friends, and next to me there was a person I had just met. I told him next week I would have gone to a meeting with libraries. The comment of the person next to me was, "Are you going to a meeting of librarians? What are you going to talk about?" Well, this comment tells us this lets us understand how libraries have been a static place, a place that doesn't know the dynamics that a city is facing. So the traditional model of a library was living a crisis. We're talking about the pre-pandemic period. So we thought to start a new path, the writing of the strategic plan, in order to demonstrate, first of all, to us and then to the others, internal actors, internal players and external players, that libraries can actually contribute to the changes characterizing our era, our time, particularly the themes linked to the environmental transition. So this is an awareness that is already present in librarians. There was a set of questions so we submitted to our colleagues, librarians, and one of the questions was, what is the contributions that libraries can give for the environmental transition? So the answers of our librarians have been the following, the ones you can see on this graph. So you can. There are 4 development axes on our plan. Each one of these has different pillars. Each one of these pillars has different, has several sections. And well, first of all, libraries have to promote knowledge, share knowledge, and the awareness of an environmental knowledge. So the first step is has been to give a structure, to give a value on a communicative and promotional way. Our shelves are always up to date with all the text talking about environmental transitions. It's about organized initiatives, for example, the Sormani Green, the initiative Sormani Green, organized on a yearly basis, talking about the good practices on a daily basis, how these daily choices can contribute to the climate change. And last but not least, the collaboration with Altro Consumo, Impegnati a cambiare, translation is commit yourself to change. A series of 15 meetings taking place in our libraries, talking about food waste, water savings, energy saving in a sustainable way, with an interactive approach as much as possible. Talking about new services, so spreading the information on environmental transition to Seeds Library. They're gonna open at the end of September on the occasion of the Milano Green Week. You know that in Milano we love English, so we call it Milano Green Week in Italian as well. People will have the chance to bring the seeds in their houses and to plant them. Second goal, give a contribution to spread and give value to the best practices, good practices realized by the civil society in the civil sector. Citizens can be a good method of spreading the information on the environmental transition. The civil society knocked our door at a certain point. We're talking particularly of a library, Pizzone, which has a nice garden outside, and the parents were a bit tired of looking for the children behind the bushes. So with an activity of ordinary maintenance, they told us, they've been the first to tell us, let's do something together, we can give you a hand, we can help you. There were persons active in the environmental transitions, in the theme of the green. So from that point on, we started, we took care of the green of this library and then of other libraries too. So we said, let's organize the event and let's see who's joining the event. The one that will, and we've said the one that will participate will have the right to sit together with us at the table to write the pact for the environmental transition on the theme of environmental transition sustainability. So we have cleaned the garden of Nilla Pizzone, then the gardens of Cassina Anna, another library. The person who signed the collaboration pact have the keys of the garden, and the garden is at their disposal at any time.
not just in the times of the opening times of the library. This is very important because here you can have a look at the signature of the pact and the moments where we organize this initiative. Another important values of our development plan that our initiatives must be participated and must give the chance to participate. So librarians must be agents and reagents of the community. In Milano, Chiara Fagiolani said in the last 10 years we have dealt with libraries, but we haven't dealt with librarians. Of course, if I ask a librarian to look for the most important elements of the territories and to implement common action, it's very... So if we want to go towards this direction, and we want to go towards this direction, we must give librarians the tools to give to that direction. That's why we are organizing a training course on the competences necessary for our territory. This is also true, and this is also urgent for environmental transition, and above all for the implementation of last macro goal of our development plan. That means accompanying the cultural change that requires a change in the lifestyle, a change in the mentality, adopting new approaches to inform the citizenship on the environmental issues. The climate change is a change that is cultural, first of all. It has to do with the difficulty of the human being to think that you can live in a different way with respect to the way you've lived until now. So culture has a key role. That's why the libraries have to do with the environmental transition. It seems it seems a cliche, but temperatures are rising everywhere. We know why, and if you think that it's always been hot in summer, and if you think that climate change, climate crisis, it's something that is not true. It's not a graph that will make you change your mind. It won't be a graph that will make change your mind. So we have a tool to change. We have the possibility to change the narrative of the climate change. We need new codes. We need new language. As Professor Granata said, it is difficult. It is difficult that people think with the language of science. The action can come from empathy. The consequences of the changes, they seem not to that have nothing to do with us. So what we want is that librarians would help to support us to spread the voice about environmental transition. We have to find new ways, empathic way to speak about environmental transition with the people. the librarians, even though if they are aware, they are not expert in the sector, so they think it's not their role to do it, of course. We need competence. We need to give them a toolkit to inform the people on this issue, and for this reason we will organize a training in December. The tutor of the training, the coach of the training will be an expert person working in the field, that's been working in the field for 18 years. And we will talk about the words of the climate change, why it is difficult to talk about climate change, how to involve the public, the people, the community. Using the game as a tool is another way that is another tool that we're planning to use. It's been experimented in Finland, and we have imported it in our libraries, using playing a game for sustainability. So I want to end with a quote: think big, start with small things, and move rapidly. All the details you can, for all the details, you can visit this website, and you can contact me on my email address. Well, thank you very much. We hope that this educational program can be developed in all the libraries. Later information, you are invited by the Library of Orvieto for a light lunch here and in the gardens of the library of this library. So let's.
Al quale abbiamo dato particolare attenzione, che è l'alfabetizzazione alla salute. Ma cosa intendiamo per alfabetizzazione alla salute? Intendiamo un'alfabetizzazione per la quale si intende la capacità di ottenere, elaborare e capire informazioni sanitarie di base e accedere ai servizi di salute in modo da effettuare scelte consapevoli, in pratica di essere in grado di acquisire, comprendere.
Health literacy, how do we define it? It means how to acquire important data useful for our health. Mr. Cristofori is epidemiologist, manager of global health, and manager of the surveillance office for health protection. We cooperated with him in a training course for librarians, and the title was to promote health literacy together with libraries and other cultural centers. And that was just a few days before COVID. I give you the floor immediately. I thank Olympia as the manager of this section of the who invited me to share this important event. This meeting has a cross-cultural, cross-subject approach, and this is very important for all of us. I prefer to stand. What is health literacy? And how is our approach? Why this is so important, and why we don't have very good results. Two main elements. What is health? The first term we have to define is health. Health is a right, is a common asset, is something everyone has to recourse, and it is stated in our Constitution, notwithstanding every race, age, or condition. health is not something different from disease. The keeping of the state is different. It depends on the place where we were born. It's really a lottery. Promotion to health was defined by the Ottawa Chart as a process enabling the persons to improve their awareness of their health condition. We are not talking about diseases, we talk about health. A group or an individual has to be able to identify and to put in place their wishes, including the health conditions. And they have to have the tools to adapt to the environment, meant as a climate, but also meant as, in general terms, society and so on. Health is a resource for our daily life. Sometimes we even say health is everything, but this is not always true, but it's a positive idea. Improving every other social resource. This is health is knowledge. For example, a smoker may be aware of the risks connected with smoking, and he decided to smoke. But he knows, he has to know the consequences of his smoking. Then, if he looks for a anti-smoking center, and the anti-smoking center is not there, this is another problem. Health is, I'm talking about the idea One Health, which includes earth, persons, and animals. At the time of COVID, we could see that a virus who had been living for millions of years in the bats sprung to our bodies. We put too much pressure on the environment, and nature defended herself, liberating this virus, and we suddenly got in contact with the virus. So health is the result of a harmonious and sustainable development, and recognize that health of persons, of animals, and ecosystems are interwoven, interconnected. Many diseases come from the animal. We are animals in any case. We are animals, even if we don't want to admit that. So to modify the environment means modifying the health of the animals and having an impact on the environment. All these factors are interconnected. And then we have an approach which has to be cross subject. Many subjects have to share the target and co-develop project on this topic. What are the determinants of the health? General economical and social and environmental conditions. Health system has nothing to do with this general aspect. We are talking about the environment where we live. This has an impact on the other end on work, the quality of jobs, the public health, housing, constructions, everything included in our environment. And then, depending on this, there are social networks. The communities try to find solutions. And then there are individual styles. And for example, we tend to say, oh, that person drinks, that person smokes. Then we have to ask why this happens. So social networks are important. Individual styles are not a choice, but a consequences of choices made by other bodies. And then we have the genetics and the body constitutions. We have other factors, the so-called epigenetic factors. The human genome has many millions of elements that can be impacted by the environment where we live. So maybe a predisposition of the person could never cause a disease, but which can be activated by the environment. An epigenetic damage is transmissible for 3 further generations. A child that was not breastfed has a consequence for the following 3 generations. This map gives an idea. The size of the continents is linked to this factor, income. You see that Africa disappeared in comparison to the income. There are countries which are very big on this map related to the income, and some countries disappeared. This is the same for instruction. The more educated countries, some countries disappear and the Western countries take on in size. Biodiversity, we damaged in our country, but we destroyed also the biodiversity in other countries. And then when we promote actions aimed at the health, we have to adopt a life course approach. Born to read, so we start from the mother in pregnancy. These are the markings in numeracy and literacy related to income. This is the discrepancy between the population of the poorest population and the richest part of the population. The formula is very difficult, and this formula has been developed many years ago, but now is still used. This is the trend of these inequalities. Look, the United States, they have the highest income of the world, but the lowest level of competencies of young people. So we are talking about these inequalities. We see that Belgium, Denmark, Japan, the marks in maths are very high in comparison to the United States, even if they have a very high level of income. The same applies for the index of infancy welfare. Northern countries range very high in the scale, and southern countries, Italy ranges in the middle. So we can see from these slides that what we are talking about are not accessible for everybody. Health literacy is a very important determinant of the health condition, and it's also a variable for the health condition. It's more important than surgery. The way in which person understand its literacy is a way to understand information related to health, safety. This is an old-fashioned definition. Literacy, health literacy, is a predictive factor stronger than you have a very special role in the protection and in the defense against disequalities. These are two definitions. The literacy alone, the health literacy alone, literacy without health is not health literacy. Health literacy improves the knowledge of health, improves resiliency, encourages changes in a positive way and the lifestyle, enables people to manage their health conditions, reduces the load on the health services, competencies increase, and complexities reduces. So this is the population without secondary instruction divided by health groups, and this is the percentage under the secondary education. Italy ranges very badly. I'll make some examples. The first 1,000 life days are, which is until 2 years. No, we also count pregnancy, which is a very important time in the development of a child. The child will develop by reading, but if the mother didn't use the precautions to ensure a good development of the child, then this will be an obstacle. Daily assumption of folic acid of a certain amount protects the child from malformation, from diseases. Everyone knows this, but 90% took in folic acid, but only 37% took this folic acid in the correct way. Especially disequalities, again, in this analysis. From this analysis, we can understand the assumption of folic acid is less with the growing age of the mothers. So education is related to this assumption. Foreign mothers with more children, and mothers coming from weak social environments. So this is Umbria. Umbria is not a word. These inequalities reflect also at a local level. There is another problem, and that's that communication. For example, mothers. So these are this graph shows the disequalities. Economic difficulties accounts for 90% more for the mother. Low education accounts for 18%. Sometimes these two factors combine. The statistics, a woman with a low income and a low education has 30% possibilities not to take folic acid in the right way. And then this, for example, being a foreign person or having more than one child. This increases the vulnerability because the lack of knowledge makes us more vulnerable, and less prevention. So I won't take part in a screening campaign. I have difficulty in accessing the health services, in understanding correctly the therapy. I don't understand my therapy, all the importance I attach to that therapy, and the negative consequences which can result in mortality, diseases, and so on. What are the action in contrast to this trend? Training courses for physicians, pediatricians, health operators, and also the ability to interpret this information. If I make a project aimed at enhancing health literacy, but I have to cooperate with our bodies. We have to co-design these programs. Foreign mothers need language mediation. We have to reach out for them. We need to deliver counseling, and librarians are the main characters, are protagonists of a correct reading of the medical information. Librarians have the ability to clarify health information, and of course, school has an important role in this development. School, when the health services go directly into the schools, imagine a low-income foreign girl being able to go to school. If they are brought to a counseling center for women, even if they get the correct information, maybe this girl will only have this only possibility to reach for this information. And then she will learn where the counseling center for women is. Counseling center for women is open for everybody and dates back to the 70s. We have so many people coming to us. Health support during pregnancy. We know that if a woman will attend a training course during pregnancy, she will learn how to breastfeed the child, she will read aloud to the children. But the woman going to the training courses, these women have a high education, she knows that these courses exist, so we promote health to people who are already informed. So we have to reach out and bring the schools to the counseling centers. So we have a project, School Promoting Health. Schools play an important role in the promotion of health and coping with inequalities. We have courses, we have a catalog of courses. We have a Viva l'Amore project on sexuality the correct way out in the first 1,000 years of the children. Libraries in the correct media for women are fundamental. Information is the very fast information on social media can either be good for the information or destroy what we have done. These data go back to last year. They are referred to Umbria. 49% of parents have never read books to children in the first 5 months of life. And within 15 months, 23% of the parents never read a book. This continuous reading promotes the harmonious level of the development of the brain that we learned yesterday. But this, again, is not equal across the society. It's more frequent among younger mothers not to read and not to assume folic acid, and this is a failure of the public school. Foreign mothers with low income who never read books in their life or in the last year, you see that the factor of the place of birth and the condition of birth plays again a role. The probability of education, low education, has a very high impact in increasing the risk. Then we have foreign people. If we accumulate these factors, this is really worries us. This worries us because we put in place so many tools, we created so many projects, but the accessibility of these programs is not open to everybody. So we have different projects implemented, but the diffusion of this project, especially in the suburbs of the towns, and the diffused library is something which is very important. Maybe in that room, so we need libraries and not slot machines. So students should not only be accompanied to the counseling centers, but also to libraries. We have here the impact of the health literacy on diabetes. Diabetes is really has a high impact on the quality of life. So also in the United States, where there are different ethnicity with low educational levels, patients were formed with simple visuals, trying to explain the consequences on the health of diabetes, of the possible elements to fight diabetes, and the measured results was that the improvement was of 15% sugar level in blood control, showed that the evidence, the damages of the diabetes was reduced 1.2, and diabetes recovery at the hospital were reduced We are talking about huge numbers. What is the conclusion? To improving health literacy with these small tools brought about a better control of the diseases. If we would have acted also in the prevention, probably we would have had less people impacted by diabetes. Again, this is this graph. From this graph, you can see that the lowest values means health literacy, income, and education. Health literacy has a very high level of predictivity, even in comparison to income and education. I want to conclude a dialogue between two teachers. Marco is not taking part in promoting reading because he has to look after the sister. And why? Because the sister lives in a small suburb, and her parents, the mama works and the father is away from home. And why? They are qualified jobs. Why? They have a low education level, low income, but the grandmother could look after the sister. But then Marco has no bus to go back home, so he doesn't eat in the school canteen. And where does he live? He lives in Fabro. And what does he do in the free time? He spends his time to the slot machine. So, these inequalities, democracy is where nobody is so rich to buy another person and no one is too rich to sell himself, is so poor to sell himself.
Grazie a Marco Cristofori anche per...
Thank you very much, Marco Cristofori, and to the colleagues, his colleagues that are here with us this morning. So it's very important to share data on the surveillance system, the importance of sharing data on a disciplinary point of view, the importance to have the possibility to develop a certain plans and projects. We have the librarian of the Istituto Superiore della Sanità, Vittorio Ponzani. He's a reference of the Scientific Information Office. He's going to talk about health literacy and health humanities in the library. He should have come with a colleague, Amalia Egle Gentile, which is responsible for the Laboratory of Health Humanities. He is also responsible of the reference office, library reference office. Libraries. Well, thank you very much, Vittorio, for your contributions. Thank you. Thank you to the Regione Umbria, the AIB Umbria, and the colleagues of this library hosting us. First of all, Cristofori said, I don't know him, but he said the half of the things I was going to say. So my contribution is complementary to his. So I think that this is another interesting aspect anyway, you know, organizing, giving a complementary contribution. Amelia Gentile, she's a researcher and psychologist, and we have started together to reflect together on the role that public libraries might have on the promotion of health. I am going to start with a quote. The one who doesn't have memory doesn't have a future. It's similar to a quote of Primo Levi, which was probably stronger, and gives us an idea of libraries as institution of memory. Libraries organizing, collecting memories on different supports, and they represent a tool thanks to which the citizens can access the knowledge and at the same time creating a new kind of knowledge. There are some repetition, I beg your pardon, but I think it's important to remind some things that we have already said. What is information literacy, health literacy? The ability, information literacy is the ability to look for information I need, is the ability to know where I can find the information, and the ability, how to use the information. The Lione Declaration underlines how the information literacy is necessary to for our social, political rights, to acquire new skills, to enrich your cultural identity and your cultural expression, to participate in the decision-taking process of our society. Inside of the field of health, we talk about, in the field of health, we talk about health literacy, which is the possibility to have access to the information regarding health, all the information that is useful to keep a good well-being, a good state of health. The World Health Organization defines health in 1948, defined health as not only the lack of diseases, but it's social, mental, and physical well-being. Well, this definition creates us some problems, because saying that being healthy means being socially, mentally, and physically healthy means it's it's not properly correct. So in fact, this definition over the years has been object of discussion. Health is something dynamic. In 2011, the British American Journal defined health as the ability of adjusting and of the self-management to the social challenges, physical, emotional, and social challenges. Each one of us in his life find himself or herself in a physical, social, or emotional situation to face. So health is the ability to adjust in this situation. Health is a complex theme, and this is one of the reasons why each one of us every day receives a lot of information, prompts coming from varieties of sources, from families, from institutions, from healthcare institutions, but unfortunately, I would say, from those producing products which are not suitable for health, thinking about the ones who produce junk food or tobacco. So that creates a narration, an easy way to create information in their Everything, of course, it is amplified by the network, by the internet. So all these things together offer us a big opportunity of knowledge, but in the same time there's a high risk of getting confused. We don't know sometimes if the news we're reading are true or false, if they're partially true, if they are updated. So all this is particularly serious in a country like Italy, where health literacy of the Italian people, according to statistics, is at the end of the statistics in Europe. Part of our citizens has difficulty in reading information regarding health, in understanding medical reports, in understanding instructions, the leaflet for medications. They have difficulty in orienting themselves inside of the healthcare system, to access the treatments. They have difficulty in knowing their rights of health and to actively participating in the decision-taking process together with their physician. So you may understand that this is a big problem. What are the consequences for this? So higher hospitalization rate. Increase in the use of the so-called emergency medicine, the wrong use of preventive medicine, the intake of medication increases, and that creates a lot of damages. So the result is a worse quality of life, a higher death rate, and more cost for the healthcare system, the national healthcare system. This is something not to be to consider. The health literacy and the health humanities can work together to promote health, talking about physical, emotional, and physical health, like we were saying before. The health humanities theme, health humanities is linked to the theme of narration. We can consider narration in 3 ways. In a literary sense, cinema, TV series, so that can help to raise awareness among people, awareness regarding health and disease. Narration narration that makes that considers the path, the cure path. So, for example, blogs, web gave the opportunity to talk about the cure paths. They have an important role. The collection, the conservation, and all the activities organized around that go around this theme. Another aspect is the narration, talking about past pathologies. And the one that talks about the cure paths of the patient. So talking about the previous diseases and talking about the path you have done to cure your disease. health is broader than medicine, it's something bigger than medicine. The health humanities consider health in the socio-cultural context. So we can define them as a virtual workshop putting together humanities, arts, and health literacy, health studies. So what is the role of libraries in this in this field? Palmieri talked about the role of libraries. They give awareness to people regarding the world that is around us. They help us to give awareness to people regarding climate changes and the crisis we are living nowadays. So you know that there are different kinds of libraries, school libraries, civic libraries. You know, all these libraries somehow have in common to the fact that they facilitate the access to knowledge, they improve the community where they work, and they support the empowerment according to their role and functions. Talking about the third kind of narration, the one in a healthcare environment, I want to talk about the libraries in healthcare facilities, in hospitals. They collaborate with healthcare professionals in building together some paths to give value to the role of the patient, to give value to the cure in order to improve the quality of life. In Italy, there are important experiences. We can give many examples of this kind of libraries, this kind of activities. The most important ones are the Oncologic Center of Aviano, the hospital of Santi Biagio Costanza, and the Institute of Tumors, Regina Elena in Roma. They organize many activities that are very important. Please read the book of Virginia Scaricci, also even won a prize, and that describes the situation, gives us an idea of this kind of libraries, you know, a sectorial reality. They obtain good results by they are located in a very specific context. In recent times, we are asking many questions about public libraries. So, do public libraries play an important role in the promotion of health literacy among citizens? So public libraries, they are well rooted in their territory. So they have the strength to spread the voice, to spread this information, to inform people on health humanities, on cures, and so on. What can they do in practice, civic libraries, public libraries? So, of course, they don't represent a substitute of doctors and health professionals. We're not psychologists, we're not doctors. We are librarians. We are able to retrieve and manage information, and we can make it available for our communities, even information regarding health. So in practice, for example, libraries can give information to citizens, can orient, they can help them to find information related to health, certified information, good, reliable information. They can develop bibliographical information related to health and diseases. They can organize training programs, seminars, workshops, and so on. they can create writing labs, writing competitions, reading groups focused on these topics, and offer spaces where students, researchers, professional healthcare workers can meet together and collaborate to speak about in the promotion of health. I want to conclude with the IFLA UNESCO Manifesto for Public Libraries. It says freedom, prosperity, and the development of the society of individuals are fundamental values. The constructive participation, the development of democracy depend on satisfactory education and on the free and unlimited access to culture and information. Libraries must provide the community access to scientific knowledge as like the results of the research and health information that can have a positive impact on the life of the users in order to allow them to participate to the scientific progress. The library, I want to remind, the library has been instituted, has been established by democracy. All the literacies, all the citizens can access libraries. Thank you very much. You are all invited to a meeting at the Istituto Superiore di Sanità on the 5th December. It's been organized together with the University La Sapienza, Humanities and Libraries, an Alliance for Health. We will keep talking about these themes. So we are all invited to this meeting. In the next days, we're gonna spread, we're gonna deliver a questionnaire, a questions form. If you have the chance, please fill in, answer these questions we're gonna submit, because it's gonna be very helpful for the development of the activities of our libraries. Well, thank you very much.
Bene, adesso ci avviamo alla conclusione della
Let's go toward the conclusion of this morning. We'll talk about a project coming from Harvard University. Sara Uboldi is going to talk about this topic. She belongs to the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia. Pretext Social Lab. It's a protocol. Pretext is a protocol. She's been trained, she has organized a training for libraries and on this new pretext protocol. So I deal with the evaluation and the measurement of the impacts that culture can have on health and well-being of people. I'm here today to talk about a methodology, a tool that can be used inside in libraries. This tool comes from Harvard. Its name is Pretext, and it's Creative Protocol. And it was born in a creative environment. Doris Sommer, she's been my trainer, and she enabled to start an experiment of this protocol that has been used in many countries, in the United States, in Central, South America, in China, in Africa. Well, this pretext protocol is spreading at an international level, and in Italy, Doris Sommer with the Professor Sacco of the University of Pescara in Chieti are creating a path to spread the training, a training course of this new protocol. My presentation, there's some technical problem with the presentation, but there are mainly photos on my presentation, and photos taken coming from the experience using this new pretext protocol. Well, this is Doris Sommer, you can see her. She's a teacher of literature, and in 2010-2011 she developed a methodology to support, to spread the reading practice through a series of steps involving creative arts, the language of and the competencies and the skills, expressive skills held by the participants. The Professor Luigi Sacco from the University of Chieti and Pescara deals with the relation of culture as a human element. He carried out an experiment, an evaluation on the impact of this protocol on the mental health, mental well-being. So adolescents, teenagers living in Nairobi, in Kenya, with poor social conditions has been carried out on these young Kenyan teenagers, and the results of this research have been very interesting, and it was about reading, a shared reading of this text, and working on this text using arts and creativity. So the data regarding the health, mental health of these teenagers are surprising. They are surprising, those results, in terms of access of culture as well. In a country where the access to mental health, there is one psychologist every million, so the results of this research are very, very interesting. We have introduced this pretext in Italy as well. We start with reading a text. It's very easy. There are different steps in these protocols, and these steps enable to contaminate the text. The participants participating to the process, to the experience, they create knowledge. While the fact that we are working on a democratic learning, where the competencies, the interests, the abilities of the participants are building the learning, these activities help in those fragile environments, in those environments where culture cannot be of easy access. in those contexts, for example, where people that don't feel at ease inside of a library, in a cultural environment. Pedagogics is on the basis a lot of pedagogists are taken as a reference for the development of these protocols. This morning, Professor Poli was talking about literacy as a tool for freedom. And this is really linked to the creation of this protocol. This year, I trained more than 100 people, professionals and persons, of our community from our city. Particularly today, I've been asked to speak about the training of archivists, librarians, of the experiments, of my experience with the protocol pretext, and I've used my experience inside of specific projects where museums and institutions collaborate together. So let's say that the level of intervention can be different. There can be collaboration with different levels, and this has a positive impact on the results. My slides are basically photos. I've used a lot of photos. Last year in Reggio Emilia, we have started a series of training sessions. The pretext protocol is a key point of this training. The person participating to the training is invited to repeat the process. So the person participating to the training becomes, in the same time, a facilitator. So he's asked to replicate, to repeat the experience gained in the course in other aspects, in other fields of application of their life. In this way, this protocol has the possibility to be spread in a very democratic way. The training has been divided in target groups. Has been organized a training for social health care professionals, archivists, librarians, and in particular with the department, healthcare department for elderly people and people with Alzheimer, affected by Alzheimer. We know that shared reading is an important practice. It supports not only the learning skills, but the relation, the empathy. We go back to the text, translating the text in the form of art and other expressive way. We use the text, we translate the text into a game, into art, into other kind of expression, and this allows us to change during the experience, to develop resilience. I chose these pictures to show you some moments of this protocol. In this case, you see a museum, but we can carry out the pretext activities inside of a museum or inside of a city. We can develop this practice in several places. So this is an image of social and cultural educators, and this is to show that in Italy too this protocol can be used and applied. there are good implications on the level of the learning ability, on relational competencies, and there's a positive impact on mental well-being. So volunteers, people of libraries, have a very important role in this process. And considering that reading is an element of freedom, we have to say that pretext is entered into prisons. We have developed the program in prisons, and now the program is carried out all year long. Why pretext labs in prison? Because it started meeting persons fragile from a social point of view and from a mental point of view. Transgender prisoners, so one of the most fragile elements inside of the prisons, as well as former psychiatric hospitals, so people affected by mental disorders. In countries like Venezuela, Bolivia, the Philippines, so in France, those programs base the idea of rehabilitation and recognize in terms of days and reduction of the penalty. So this is the object we are looking at. In order to carry out a pretext in prison, we have involved some writers. We have involved the writer Henry De Luca, which is accompanying us in the whole path. We had read La Regina di Kabul, the Queen of Kabul, but other, directors and actors that help us in our session, in our open sessions, inside of prisons. We know that libraries in prisons are present. There are laws making sure that prisons have libraries, but in reality, people that knows prisons know very well that accessing those libraries is difficult. In some places, it's even impossible. I've been told that some books cannot have books inside of a prison because they can be used to set fire. I want to say that the impact on mental well-being, on resilience, on the stigma, on the reduction of the stigma, one of the detainees participated to pretext has recently told me that when the day we carry out pretext, we do pretext, is the day where I don't need therapy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sara Uboldi, for telling us your experience, hoping to activating this kind of laboratories in Umbria. And thank you very much for your attention. We're going to have our break now. We will start again at 2:30. Thank you very much and see you later.